Hey guys, I hope you aren't sick of map videos yet. We have yet another one today. After a little bit of, I guess, encouragement from my last video, so many people telling me to just keep grinding, keep going, and as well as private messages from people and just hearing other guys talk to me in the server itself for Metro. A lot of them wanted to see the experience that I had with map building before going into the Metro map, because there is actually a lot of people out there who want to create their own maps, which is super cool. It's a lot of fun when you get around some of the BS of the engine itself. So I think just showing people where I started would be kind of fun. This map that I'm going to show off just really briefly, it's going to be probably a pretty quick video, is something I created with zero experience, and I spent about 20 hours on this map for 3 days before I transitioned over to the Metro map, quote unquote, full time for the server. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the inspirations that I maybe got out of building this map that I used in the Metro map. So without wasting too much time, I'm just gonna show you the top of this map. So this was something I just kind of created on a whim. I was thinking about how fun it could be if there was like an actual Vietnam role-playing server as opposed to only a Vietnam PvP or PvE conflict server. So I created kind of like an alternate reality sort of Vietnam map. I don't use satellite maps, which is something a lot of map makers would do. It's pretty much the preferred way of doing it, where you take like a picture of a map using certain software on certain sites, and it'll put like the terrain, the height map and things directly into your map, so you know how high things should be. It'll put roads and stuff on the default texture of the map, so you can just draw over it to get your roads correct. For me, I wanted to do everything from scratch just because I thought it'd be fun. I could learn a little bit more. So this is my massive Vietnam inspired map. There's a huge chunk over here still. As you can see, there's absolutely nothing going on. But I just wanted to see how difficult it would be to get a map started with little to no experience. And I think it was a pretty good first attempt. The MOBs were going to look kind of like this, where they're just wide open areas with a training area next to it. And this is something that I put directly into the Metro map for every MOB, because personally for me, I feel bad for factions who want to do BCTs and they have to go somewhere or get a GM to set things up for them just to train a couple of guys. So I always liked the idea of there being a training area just built into every spawn. So I created just this little shooting gallery right here in the woods. And then outside of the MOB itself, I have a couple of little kind of villages right here. And I think the engine really shines when you have an actual coastline to work with, because I think this looks honestly really, really great. I will admit, the water system, the simulation in Reforger is genuinely super good. Like, the waves know how to react just based off of the terrain, and they do a really, really good job of just getting everything exactly how it should be. Like you can see here with the waves crashing on this side, waves crashing on this side here to the south. It is super good. Over the bridge here, I also have a couple of just destroyed villages. I like the idea of there being some variation in the towns you go into, because in a lot of maps, it's kind of all just copy paste of everything. So I wanted some exploded villages here. So I got like the big holes here with like the trees knocked over. I do have larger towns I was experimenting with as well. So I actually did use this town as inspiration for some of the areas in the surface part of my metro, just like the general layout. I don't like the idea of everything being perfect grids. I like there being some variation in how the roads work. So I really like the way this little town just kind of felt when I set it up. So I use a lot of this as inspiration for Metro. Gas station as well right here, inspiration I used in the Metro map. I have all sorts of these jungles here, some more little villages over here. Nothing too much going on over here. I wanted there to be a lot of jungle in the map, but I also wanted there to be just big enough open spaces where it didn't feel like you're always just walking through dense trees you can't see through. Like if we go down to the bottom, it is pretty hard to see where you're going sometimes. I've got a little kind of factory, warehouse, kind of industrial area here. This is something I will be putting into the Metro map as well because I really like the way it turned out right here. So I'm going to be adding something like this. I just really like putting foliage everywhere. It looks so good. Like, I talk about all the complaints I have with the Arma engine, but when you get the foliage down, oh my god, it looks really good. I have this old war zone area here with trenches. I was actually using this as a way to figure out how I wanted to make trenches because I've had a lot of people in the Metro server asking for some trenches on the surface. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm gonna make that work. I might throw them in the Caspian just so there's more reason to go there. And I think like the scenery here, the terrain is very similar to the Caspian anyways. So I think it could work. I just figured this would be a fun place to kind of test out how to get that operating properly. There are some pretty cool trench assets I can put in where it like actually sinks in the ground and it works really well. For this, since I was on a hill, it was a little bit difficult, so these are just sandbags for the most part. But I can probably use real trenches on the Metro map, and I think I'll do that just to fill out the surface a bit more. Another village here. Another town. So I'm going to probably use this as some more inspiration because this part of the town is very militarized. So I have sandbags all over the place, barricades. I have guard checkpoints. In the Metro map itself, I don't really have that. I have the abandoned NATO camp kind of in the middle of the map, but I don't really have any districts that are blocked off and militarized where like NATO or where certain Russian forces might reside in there, after people have been moved out. So I'll probably do that. I'm just kind of thinking now. I have no script or anything in these videos. I just ramble. I think I'm going to do that. I like that idea. One thing I was also testing over here is something I'm the most proud of. So in a lot of like classic Vietnam maps, there's those like rice paddy kind of farms that you would see. I know in the, the Rising Storm 2 game, the Vietnam one, there are some iconic maps, in my opinion, with the fields where rice is grown. I'm trying to think of other games. It's just any game that has a good Vietnam map has that. So I tried to recreate it here a little bit, and I actually love the way this turned out. So here, if you look, it's kind of highlighting. So I'm just using basic rivers with like no movement speed as the water, and then I have the terrain built up around it. So it looks like it's kind of dried out. Things aren't looking too good here. And then I have a really shallow pond going into it. And then right next to it, I have my little village like this. So this took quite a bit of time to get working, but I think it looks pretty awesome. Definitely one of the more unique terrains I've seen in Arma, I have to say. This was something I built, I think it was on my second day with the map. I was looking up some tutorials on how to get bodies of water actually working, so I learned how to do like rivers and lakes and things. Super easy. I got pretty good using the polyline, the vector tool, to create these lakes. And I figured challenging myself a little bit with these rivers would be a really fun idea, and it turned out super cool. I have it just going all the way around to this part. So yeah, this area here, unfortunately, there's no way I could implement something like this really into the Metro map. Unless I created like a waterfall somewhere. That's a possibility. I love the way this looks. Over here, kind of got nothing. It's just like a big, just militarized, just wall you have to drive through. So it's like a massive checkpoint. And I'm going to make this just a massive military base. I haven't worked on the map in about a month because I've just moved all in onto Metro. But I think it'd be fun to create just a massive Vietnam map. My only concern is due to its size. I don't know if like Series S players could play on it. But it might be interesting if I just continue with it, work on it. I learned a lot making this map, how to get the terrain set up, how to get the water set up, how to be kind of careful with like building roads, bridges, and all sorts of stuff. This is also where I was testing things like medical tents with the little like, I don't know what you'd call these, the systems in place on them for like healing and stuff. Like I had absolutely no idea what I was doing when I first made this map. But I think just doing something like this before you go into a larger project like Metro, the Metro map itself is like, I think 1/8 the size of this map. Like if I zoom out, like what we see right here would probably be almost all of the Metro map. But I would say that one is still far more complex and far larger than this one. So for anyone who happens to be watching this, I guess my takeaway that I want to kind of express is just make another map, go crazy with it, throw stuff into it. Don't be afraid to break it. You learn a ton from breaking stuff. And I did learn a lot. Unfortunately, I didn't think to move the terrain on this map to see all the assets fly up into the sky and screw that up, because I was careful to make sure that the terrain was set to 0 here. So that's kind of the one thing I didn't quite learn. But I learned a lot about placing objects, getting prefab set up, getting parents and children set up, creating things like telephone lines and all that good stuff, getting spawns set up, and then also getting like vehicles to work on terrain and things, because we do still want to get vehicles maybe at some point in the Metro map. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. I might add some Jeeps and then just make them slower. You can get everywhere on foot, so we're still just figuring out what to do with that. But yeah, I don't have too much to say about this map. This is something I created in about 20 hours, 0 experience, and I've talked about this before, but I kind of use this channel as just like an online diary, just to talk about stuff that I've been doing, showing off some of the cool projects I've been getting involved with, and I'm not gonna transition only into map content. That's not what I'm trying to do. I just wanted to show off this kind of little, people are calling it like a tomato arc, the tomato lore. This is some of the tomato lore of just some of the more constructive stuff I've been getting up to in Arma. There's a lot more gameplay coming up soon, but I figured someone out there might like just kind of seeing just a little tour of what I've been able to create in such a short amount of time with this map. I think it's super cool. I'm pretty proud of it. And I would definitely like to go back to it once my Metro map is finished. But yeah, that's about it. It's going to be a very short video today in comparison to everything else. But as always, I appreciate you guys for watching this and for watching everything else and supporting me through the YouTube memberships and the donations and things. That's all super, super nice. Feels far nicer than what I deserve at the moment, but I appreciate it so much. That's everything. See you guys.